Welcome to the Cryptonomatron. Thanks for joining me again here today, guys. And this is a new ICO review video on Metabase. But if this is your first time watching my channel and you want to know more about ICOs, cryptocurrencies, blockchain and other related stuff, then you've got to click on that subscribe button and click on that bell notification icon and you'll get notified as soon as I upload new content, including ICO reviews like this one. So let's get started and let's have a look at Metabase. Okay, so you're wondering, what is Metabase? Well, it is a high-performance blockchain and smart opcodes platform for next-generation businesses. And what this means is that you'll be able to launch your next-gen business with an easy and scalable blockchain and cryptocurrency platform. It's basically, essentially, blockchain 3.0, but taken to maybe another level. So let's have a look at it, starting off with the competition. So there are several competitors to Metabase that have launched fairly recently. Now, Ethereum is going to be a competitor as well. They're implementing sharding to tackle their scalability issues. And another one that I found quite similar to Metabase is Quarkchain. Again, another project that's implementing sharding from the get-go. So they're about as close to Metabase as I think you could possibly get in terms of competition. They're a fairly new project as well. Launched a successful ICO. My review of them is up there if you want to check it out. There's also Cele, which is Soul in German, and they are another blockchain 3.0 platform that is looking to tackle scalability. There's also Credits, again, another very high throughput blockchain infrastructure platform. Has its detractors, but they are launching their mainnet towards the end of this month. So there appears to be blockchain infrastructure projects launching on a near daily basis now, and it's getting very competitive. And indeed, I feel the space is becoming somewhat saturated with these blockchain infrastructure projects. So what makes Metabase different from the rest? What singles it out? Well, what they're trying to do is essentially have an all-in-one platform that's built from the ground up. The platform will address scalability using a unique chain splitting method we'll talk about a little bit in more detail later on. And also they're inspired by real world monetary policy, and they've also got the smart contracts, or what they're calling the smart opcodes as well, which they feel sets this project apart from all the others. So the first and probably the biggest problem this project is trying to solve is obviously going to be the scalability trilemma. How to scale is now the current flavor of the month, as we've seen all these other competitors and rivals to this project saying they can scale up to 1 million transactions per second in some cases, and even beyond. Now, those are, quite grandiose claims. I don't see Metabase making any of those claims. However, they do recognize that scalability is a real challenge and something has to be done about it. So another issue is the limited programming ecosystem. Again, earlier versions of the blockchain are very limited in what they can actually do and what you can program on top of them. And that leads to another issue, is usability for developers as well. They're very difficult to use, hard to program on and develop on, and you often need to use third-party applications to get around that. Another problem is obviously security, part of the scalability trilemma. And again, the more you scale, the more you compromise security, and the more you compromise your decentralized nature as well, which lends itself to higher security. So security needs to be addressed, certainly. And we've seen some infrastructure projects, EOS is the one that springs to mind, launching their mainnet very recently, but having been exposed with certain security vulnerabilities that have meant they had to postpone. And again, security is going to be a major issue going forward. So another problem is governance. Now, the first generation blockchains didn't have any. Bitcoin certainly doesn't have any. But the issue there is, as we advance technologically and we have more need for scalability, more need to perform better, that causes problems. And it's ended up actually forking Bitcoin. It's ended up forking Ethereum as well. So we need some element of governance in a blockchain these days to decide what happens with it in the future as it grows. So Metabase aims to build a blockchain infrastructure platform that's going to be able to build, scale, and monetize next generation businesses. So you'll be able to build on top of this platform essentially to get what you need for your new modern business. Now they have to tackle the problems we've just discussed, the first one being scalability. So how do they do that, or how do they propose to do that? Well, they're going to build an innovative next generation blockchain protocol that's going to scale with adoption. They're looking at it at two levels, a technical level obviously, and also an economic policy level as well. So they're introducing monetary policy and taking some inspiration from real world economies, which is interesting. To get around the current limited programming capabilities of platforms, they are going to introduce a next generation virtual machine called the Metabase virtual machine. It's going to be based on the Ethereum virtual machine, which will be able to expand the programming capabilities of their blockchain. So by utilizing this next generation virtual machine with an augmented opcode space, they will allow more functionality in terms of programming and also a high level of usability and security as well. The platform will also feature a governance framework which will enable a controlled evolution of this project. So the reason that infrastructure projects are so popular at the moment and so resistant, or more resistant, to the volatility in cryptocurrency markets currently is because they're basically going to be the platforms that everything else is built upon. And the market for these platforms is going to be quite significant in the future. We've discussed it on previous review videos. In terms of billions of dollars, I think by 2022 we're looking at maybe $40 to $45 billion worth of revenue for blockchain in industry. And I pulled a couple of interesting articles off the internet. This one, banking is only the beginning. 36 big industries blockchain could transform. Now it goes into different industries and why blockchain could be important, could be changing the way they do business. So I suggest you have a little look at it. It's quite interesting in itself. But again, it shows that it's not only limited to the financial sector. Most people, when you mention blockchain, you mention cryptocurrency in particular, will immediately think of a payment service, peer-to-peer payments, that type of thing, which, yes, obviously is fundamentally at the core of blockchain technology. We've seen Bitcoin, the first cryptocurrency, utilize blockchain to do exactly that. But in the future, blockchain and smart contracts have got so many possibilities, in many different industries. So in terms of industry segment that they're aiming at, it's certainly focused on entrepreneurs, small businesses, enterprise solutions, but also in governance. So if you've got these emerging smart nations, you can actually use the platform to ensure your citizens get good governance, and that's pretty cool. But the focus is in the main on doing business and moving your business into the future. So the blockchain is a custom-built blockchain for this project. It will have a proof of work and delegated proof of stake hybrid, and it will be achieving consensus using the Ethereum Ethash algorithm. So rather than have a linear linked list style blockchain as is common with most early platforms, this is going to be more of a directed binary tree. So as you can see behind me, the chain will actually split off as adoption increases or as use increases. So when the load on the blockchain reaches a particular threshold, the blockchain will be split into two different chains, so that will mathematically and evenly distribute the mining capability and the load across the two different chains. So now you've got two blocks being mined simultaneously, one for each of the chains. And this will continue as the transaction load becomes higher and higher. So the blockchain will be split into more chains over an extended period of time. Therefore, you get what looks like a tree forming behind me. So in a linked list style blockchain, each block is identified by a block number. I'm sure you're familiar with that. But in this Metabase platform, each block will have a block number, an epoch number, and a chain number as well. As you can see from the tree infographic behind me, all three of those numbers are important when it comes to actually identifying the transaction. So they are planning to implement some off-chain scaling solutions as well as the on-chain solution we've just discussed. They are calling this the Ray network. Now it's going to enable instant peer-to-peer payments off-chain, similar to the Lightning network on Bitcoin. Now the Spectrum network is going to enable smart contract transactions off-chain as well, which is similar to the Raiden network that we've seen on the Ethereum blockchain. And it will have the appropriate links to the Metabase protocol that will allow it to interact. Another cool feature is going to be a priority pool, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come to the token use section a bit later on. But suffice to say, it's basically going to allow you to pay more for a quicker transaction. So this next generation virtual machine, the Metabase virtual machine, or MVM, is based on the Ethereum style virtual machine we know already. This basically will allow more functions and expanded programming capabilities on the platform than what is already available. So they propose to create a marketplace as well for developers where they can all develop and monetize their programs by embedding them into the opcode space. It will be reviewed by the community as well. And it will allow the developers basically to utilize platform level constructs to build more powerful and better applications. So they are going to create their own APIs and development tools for developers instead of what's currently available on other platforms. You have to use a third party basically to connect with the blockchain directly. So they're going to provide all this functionality. There'll be a library for mobile platforms and a browser extension for the browser platforms as well. So a smart opcode is a smart contract essentially with an added dimension. It's a custom virtual machine instruction that allows you to perform complex operations. Now, what they are intending to do is allow these smart opcodes to be created, showcased, and monetized using the Metabase marketplace. And this will incentivize developers to build complex operations on the platform layer itself, which will then in turn simplify app development on the higher application level for businesses, entrepreneurs, and people looking to build their own decentralized applications. So basically you can monetize useful programming constructs, make them available directly on the platform on Metabase, and instead of having to scour different resources like GitHub, for example, for useful smart contract code snippets, you can directly use the security vetted ones on the Metabase platform. So some other cool things to mention are the monetary policy. Now they're looking at monetary policy as an incentivizing factor to encourage the correct behaviors of actors on the platform as well. So basically you'll get rewarded when you do good things, and you'll be punished when you do bad things by them removing your tokens. Another cool thing is they're going to have their own programming language. Now this might discourage a few developers, but they do say that they're basing it on what already is out there, like Solidity, a little bit more secure, so that developers can pick it up fast and build stuff with a low learning curve as well. Now you'll be able to obviously build your own decentralized applications on the back of this platform too, using the smart opcodes, and it's also going to be miner friendly, which I quite like. Being a GPU miner myself, you'll be able to mine this with the proof of work consensus algorithm with your GPU at home, and you'll also be able to stake your tokens as well to elect block signatories and share in the rewards. So we could spend all day talking about the tech on this project. We really could. It's that thorough. And I have to mention there are a lot of papers available that explain more about the project, not least of all the white paper, but there's also a tokenomics paper, a project overview, several other documents as well that you can download and have a read through. So keep you occupied for a week, all of the material that's been provided. Another couple of cool things that they're going to do is they're going to implement your identity within the virtual machine. Basically on the blockchain protocol itself, you will have an identity, and that will enable you to become what they're calling a citizen on the blockchain. Now that leads on to the governance structure of this project as well, which is another very interesting feature. So governance will be performed by staking your coins, and that will allow that the people that are voting are actually got a vested interest in the project as well. There are a lot of details on the governance structure and how they're going to manage governance in the white paper. So this is a dual token system. One is called Metacore, it's the store of value, and that's the one you'll get at the ICO. Can be traded on exchanges. You'll also be able to get that for mining and staking rewards as well. The other token is called the Metabit. Now that's the medium of exchange, and that's going to be used to pay all the transaction fees on the blockchain. So a node will convert the Metacore to Metabit tokens using the exchange rate at the time, and then that will pay the appropriate fees for whatever transaction you're trying to attempt. So I'm happy to report that this project doesn't appear to have any scam warnings or red flags surrounding it at all. And just to clarify, my red flags are things that are a real concern about the project and would warn me off investing, not just negatives about the project, which we will discuss later on in the positives and negatives section nearer the final verdict. So the private sale happened on April the 17th. I don't have any information as to how much money was raised. The whitelist is actually still open for the pre-sale. You can sign up from the website, and the pre-sale started a few days ago and will run until June the 22nd as well. Now, for conditions on the pre-sale, please do read the material very, very carefully as well. It can be quite confusing. I'll attempt to explain it in this section, but again, you have to do your own due diligence here, guys, yeah? The ICO proper will start on July the 10th, and main sale will run until September the 18th, so it's a fairly long crowd sale. So the pre-sale has a minimum purchase of $50,000 US, although I think if you emailed them, they could accept a bit less. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm pretty sure. Now, the pre-sale maximum purchase stands at $800,000 for you big spenders out there that want to really go in heavy on this one. For the main sale, minimum purchase will be $100 US, and main sale maximum will be up to 10% of the total tokens available. So again, whales only. The token supply breakdown will be 50% for miners, 5% will be for pre-sale buyers, 25% for the crowd sale itself, 15% will go to Intrepid Ventures, which is the company behind this project, and 5% will be kept in reserve. Now, it's also important to note that any unsold tokens at either stages of the sales will go back into the reserves. So the token ticker is the Meta for the Metacore token that you'll be receiving at the ICO. Remember, there is another token, the Metabit, which will be used to pay the transaction fees on the ecosystem. You don't have to worry about that at this stage. Now, the prices for the tokens are 2 cents at the pre-sale stage and between 2 cents and 6 cents at the main sale stage, depending on when you get involved. Obviously, first come, you'll get the bigger discounts. Now, they will be accepting US dollar payments, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. The token sale will consist of 2.4 billion tokens out of a total supply of 8 billion. Chinese citizens cannot participate, and the caps are as follows. Pre-sale hard cap is at 8 million US dollars. Main sale hard cap is at $80 million, and the main sale token supply will be 2 billion, where only 400 million will be available at the pre-sale. So tokenomics looking fairly decent there, but they do have lockups for the tokens as well. So the tokens will be locked up at the main sale for a minimum of 6 months to 3 years, and at the pre-sale a minimum of 1 year to 3 years. So you have to be aware of that when you're investing. There are token lockups. Details are available in the tokenomics white paper available on the website. So the usage restriction periods are different from the pre-sale to the main sale. Main sale, you will be restricted for 6 months with 0 bonus, up to 36 months or 3 years with the highest bonus of 25%. So it's up to yourself how long you're going to actually have to keep your tokens locked up. And in the pre-sale, it's a minimum of 12 months, up to 36 months as well, with discounts between 0 and 20%. It's important to note that the tokens will actually be released per block, so it will be dependent on the block size of the blockchain itself, not exactly on specific dates either. So this project is running a bounty campaign, and for full disclosure, I will be submitting this video for a bounty once it's completed. Now, there are 60 million meta tokens allocated to the bounty program, which makes up 0.75% of the total supply. Bounties will be distributed 90 days after the end of the token sale, and the campaign is active at the moment and will complete at the end of the token sale itself. As usual, different rules apply for the different bounties. I will leave the link in the description below, so please have a read of it before you participate and follow the rules accordingly, guys. So I like the roadmap because it's very detailed and it tells me precisely what they're going to do over the next few months, but it is quite long, guys. You have to bear that in mind. The testnet will not be up and running until at least January 2019, which is a fairly long time to wait considering other projects are already launching their mainnets. As to the mainnet launch here, we're looking later on in 2019 with the augmented codebase compiler and the virtual machine as well. So the Ray and Spectrum networks won't really be online until September 2019 at the earliest, I would say. Going further forward to that, identity subsystem and the tools design and development will follow. You won't be able really to mine this currency until end of December 2019. Although they do say that they're working very hard on all the different aspects of the platform, so it is quite ambitious. So you've got to cut them some slack, but it will require a little bit of a leap of faith on your behalf as a contributor or an investor to this ICO. So in order to look at the team, we have to first look at Intrepid Ventures. They are the blockchain venture studio behind the Metabase project. And I must say, both websites are pretty well designed. They're very functional, very modern, very cool indeed. And the guys behind the Intrepid Ventures company are obviously involved in Metabase as well. Now we have Colin Thompson. He's the co-founder and managing director of Intrepid Ventures. He is the product and marketing lead, spent most of his career as a designer and entrepreneur. He handles the research on blockchain technology and how it impacts emerging markets, industry and future leaders. He's worked for AIA, Lian Feng, KPMG and the International Finance Corporation as well for the World Bank. Zachary Peister, he is a co-founder and chief development officer at Intrepid. He leads the company's community and business development initiatives. He builds teams, communities, and ecosystems for startups and Fortune 500 companies, helps teams and communities scale, and he builds organizations that sustain market leadership. He's been involved at Singtel, Google, Salesforce, and SAP, no less. And last but not least at Intrepid is John Paul Arminio. Now he's also the co-founder and chief investment officer, and he leads the investment decisions and capital allocations for the company. He's an investor and advisor to fintech startups and has over 20 years experience creating financial products, teams and software. He's worked for Mizuho and Morgan Stanley as well. So the team is 16 members strong, and that includes the 3 that I just highlighted to you. Now we do have some good blockchain experience on this team as well, which is obviously going to be integral to this project's success. Being a blockchain platform and being backed by Intrepid Ventures is important. I feel they've got experience in what they're trying to actually implement, and that gives me confidence when I'm looking to contribute to ICOs, when I see a team that is experienced in what they're trying to do. So in terms of partners, Blockchain Venture Studio Intrepid Ventures are the company behind this project, and they don't have any other partners as far as I'm aware. So it'll be interesting to see going forward who they actually partner up with. So while sifting through the project overview paper, I noticed that they have been audited by PricewaterhouseCoopers and security audits by Harangi.com and CryptoBlock.io. So the hype is just not there with this project yet. The community's not there either. It needs a bigger community support and it needs more hype behind it, I think, to succeed. Now, a lot of projects will succeed in spite of the hype. I hope this is going to be one of them, but hype certainly does help, and it cannot ever hurt a project, I feel. Especially when you're trying to launch from an ICO and crowdfund. So this project, Metabase, has only got 1,194 members on its Telegram, which is fairly lackluster. There's only 1,186 followers on their Twitter. They do have good representation on their blogs, though, on Medium and their own blog site. Fantastic articles. Again, their contribution, the team's contribution is top notch. It really is. So, you know, in a way, they do deserve this project to be more hyped. So let's hope it does get there before the ICO. Yeah, the articles are definitely worth a read. There's a lot of effort being put into explaining what they're all about and what they intend to do by the team members, especially Colin, who's written this very interesting article, Crypto 2.0, Scaling Blockchain Technology Platforms. Again, they're all very informative and well worth a read, guys. Okay, let's move on to the positives and negatives now. And first of all, the positives and what I like about this project. Now, the first thing that I noted was they're an experienced blockchain team. They have the backing of Intrepid Ventures. And when I looked into that company, I was reassured and quite enthusiastic about this project as well, because they obviously know what they're doing. They're a blockchain venture company, basically, that's going to invest in different blockchain projects and technology. And who better to actually start their own infrastructure platform? I also liked the fact that this has got a large market to tap into. Again, blockchain infrastructure is going to be huge in the future, and this could certainly take some of that market share. Infrastructure projects are hot stuff at the moment. Everybody's talking about them. There's loads of them launching. The market space is a bit crowded, admittedly, but they're still pretty hot, and that means big gains. The material for this project is top notch. It's superbly presented. In fact, I don't think there's another project that I've come across that has the quality of material and the presentation that this project has. A spelling mistake I could not find, and I'm not joking about that. Now, this project also seems to have learned lessons from previous incarnations of blockchain 1.0 and 2.0, and they've taken that on board, and that's evident in their material and evident in the way they want to implement. This is going to scale with use as well, so perhaps it could be a solution to the scalability trilemma that we're always talking about. If it can, and if it does actually work without compromising decentralization and security, then this could be a winner, guys. Now, the roadmap is detailed and informative too. It's very informative, in fact, and it tells us exactly what's going to happen and when. Mining and staking will obviously attract the community, and the fact that you can actually mine this with a GPU, and the fact you can actually stake and get rewards as a result is a big thing for this platform. You know, other platforms are moving away from that. This one isn't, and again, that's got to be commended. This also will reward developers that develop on the platform and monetize their content. It also will reward users that participate in it as well. Now, the governance structure will help the platform evolve going forward. I think that's a major factor and something that's obviously been well thought out, because they don't want any forking and any problems further down the line, as has been evident with previous platforms. The tech looks innovative and a cut above the rivals. We don't have a demo or an MVP to see anything at the moment, but what I've seen on paper looks very good indeed. The low token price and fairly sensible tokenomics mean that this is definitely worth considering if you're going to get involved in the crowd sale. You know, you can't beat a 2-cent token. And I like the fact they're going to have a staggered token release. That means no flipping, no dumping, serious investors only, please. Now, negatives and what I don't like about the project. Well, the first one is there's no code and no MVP available yet. I asked on Telegram, I was told 2019 at the earliest, so we've got quite a long way to wait on it. And the fact that they're launching an ICO trying to raise 80 million on the back of not having any code available for public viewing or a minimum viable product or a demo even, it's quite disconcerting. They will face stiff competition in what is already an oversaturated space. Like I said earlier, there are infrastructure projects launching on an almost daily basis now, and all with bold claims of how they're going to solve scalability. Now, the roadmap here is quite long. Well, at least it's longish. It will be 2019 before we see anything. Mainnet probably latter part of 2019, testnet January if we're lucky. And again, that is going to hinder them because their competitors are launching right now. They're already launching their main nets. They've already got the brand name. They're already being adopted. So it's going to be a hard fight to try and keep up with them. This will also require the devs to learn its own programming language. Now, while I appreciate they're going to try and make it as easy to learn as possible and dive straight in, it's going to still take some effort to actually learn it and get programming on this platform. The other thing I didn't like about this project is token sale details are too confusing for most, and that will put off a lot of buyers. They could have made it just a little bit more clear, if I'm honest. Now, the hard cap, I feel, is way too high in this current climate. If we were bullish all the time, every day, then 80 million would be an easy figure of money to raise. But in this current climate, it's going to be difficult. People are looking for the under 20 million hard caps here, and 80 million is a very big ask. This is an ambitious project. In fact, it's very ambitious, and that means higher risks for the investor, in my opinion, because implementation of ambitious projects is always going to be more difficult. This being an infrastructure project with some new technology, again, this is higher risk, especially when we haven't seen a demo or an MVP. Now, long token lockups of 6 months to a year initially may put some off from investing in this project. I see the lockups as quite a positive thing, in fact, because it means that you won't get whales dumping or people just flipping, and it will basically force you to hold this longer term. It may put some people off though, and that's a shame because this project's definitely worth an investment. Now, nothing's mentioned about cross-chain interoperability either, and how it's going to be compatible with other chains. Now, if you're a project launching, whether you're an infrastructure project or whatever, protocol, whatever, you're going to have to have some level of cross-chain capability going forward. That's just a fact, because this isn't going to be like Lord of the Rings, where one project's going to dominate them all. This is this is a concern. You're going to have to be compatible with other projects to ensure adoption. So let's look at the potential gains and what I think it might do given the market sentiment at any given time, and taking into account previous similar projects. Now, infrastructure projects have done particularly well recently. I think this one will be no exception, and I'm just saying it's going to tread water. In an ultra bearish environment, I don't see it actually losing very much. It may just tread water, stay where it is. Again, bearish environment could see it double up. And given the token lockups and other factors here, I think it could actually do quite well, even in a bearish environment. In a bullish environment, however, this has got massive potential. Make no mistakes, guys. If they actually get the testnet running and implement some of the stuff they want to implement, this could be a major project, could be a big gainer, guys. I'm looking to be very bullish on this, and I'm going to say a 10x in a bullish market. In a perma-bullish market, well, we've seen other inferior projects do far better, and I say this is a 30x, even with an $80 million market cap. If it hits the exchanges and sells out, this could easily do a 30x, guys. Make no mistake about it. This could potentially surprise a lot of people. And for flipping, well, it's not going to happen, is it? Because of the token restrictions. And hodling, well, you've got no choice. So you're going to have to hold on, and it's probably for the best. So what are the scores on the doors? Marks out of 10 in 12 different categories, my ICO scoring metrics. Now, first of all, presentation and pitch. Well, I think you'll struggle to find a better presented and pitched product out there. I'm giving this a solid 10 out of 10. They got full marks. Competitiveness, well, this is a very competitive project, but it faces a lot of competition, and it will have to do well to match up to its rivals, so it gets a 7 out of 10. As far as problems are being solved with this project, what pain points are being addressed? Well, it certainly does look at solving the scalability trilemma, so it gets a 9 out of 10. Disruptor, is it disruptive to the current market? Well, I think it could be quite disruptive. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 for disruptor. Blockchain and technology, well, a lack of a demo or an MVP hurts it here because it's just a white paper ICO as it stands, but the technology looks very promising. It gets a 5 out of 10 for blockchain and tech. Token use, very, very innovative indeed. If they can actually implement the dual tokens and address some of the issues, then 10 out of 10 for token use. Another full score. Tokenomics, they're not so bad. The hard cap's a bit too high for me though at 80 million, and a bit over ambitious I feel in the current market, so it only gets a 7 out of 10 for tokenomics. Community and hype lets it down here. The community isn't behind it and there's no hype about this project, so it gets a 5 out of 10. Roadmap, the roadmap's pretty good. A lot better than some other projects I've reviewed recently. It's detailed, however it is rather long, so it gets a 7 out of 10. Team and advisory body, I feel is very strong. They have blockchain experience, which will be very necessary to push this project to success, so they get an 8 out of 10. Partnerships now, well, there's only one really of note, and that's the company backing this project, so they get a 5 out of 10. Fair play, I can't see any negatives of fair play here. The lion's share of the tokens are going to the general public. Everybody will get a fair crack of the whip here, so they get a solid 8 out of 10. So final verdict time then, guys. How does it rate out of 10? 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. Well, how is this so underhyped for a project that appears to be so on point with everything else? And you know, I'm giving this a 7.5 out of 10, guys. It definitely merits it. It could have done a lot better if it had an MVP or a demo. Now, will I be applying for the bounty? Yes, of course I will. Definitely be applying for the bounty because I've made this video, so why not? And will I be investing in it? Well, yes, I think I will be investing in it. There are long token lockups, but I see that as conducive to actually making gains from your investment. And I won't be in any rush to sell this one, that's for sure. So the score of 7.5 out of 10 takes Metabase to the top of the rankings in my ICO rating spreadsheet. How long will it hold on to that top place? We'll just need to wait and see. So I think it's a very solid project. I'm bullish on it. It's an infrastructure project. Again, you know, they're doing particularly well at the moment, and this one's got some innovative ideas. I like it. I will be investing in it, as I said. Let me know your thoughts. What do you think about it? Leave us a comment in the description below, and if you liked this video, please do give us a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And hit that bell notification icon as well, guys. You'll get notified as soon as I upload new content. Now, the spreadsheet is available by clicking on the link in the description below, and also it's available on my Telegram group where I do regular updates on what's going on and what I'm doing. So join the Telegram group, because once it gets unmanageable, guys, I will close off membership. Nobody else will be permitted to join. Those that are already members will obviously retain their membership. We discuss a lot of things. It's a good informative resource. So please, I do encourage you to come along and join. So thanks for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. As usual, this isn't financial advice. These videos are for entertainment purposes only, and always do your own due diligence, always do your own research, guys, and never invest more than you can afford to lose. Always invest cautiously, always invest wisely, and don't listen to those shillers. See you later, guys. Thanks for watching.